and Manuela suggested we try something physical so that we can have something to talk about that we all shared an experience of. So this was the movement research task. Sense what your body is about to do. Where is your weight going to fall next? What move is about to unfold? From there, you have 3 options. Number 1, sense what your body is about to do and do it. Number 2, inhibit this and pause and sense what is coming after that. Or number 3, derail the pathway and do another move instead of the one that you have pre-sensed, and so on. Okay. Yes, Tom was talking about derailing the contact dance. That's where this idea came from.
You trust your partner a lot, yeah.
That was basically taking a pathway which is known and stopping it in the middle, especially if it has momentum. And then we got to the idea that Manuela suggested as an improvisation by yourself to either a pathway or some movement that you do, but consciously derail, stop, change the direction, or stop and see what happens if you go with it, against it, or try something new.
We had the chance to, try this out in a contact situation, but also since I think many people are not with, or is probably alone or not with someone who wants to dance contact with you, to try it in solo was also super interesting. I can say for me, the thing of inhibition is really hard because usually my body is moving faster than my mind realizes how many things are happening. And I sometimes if I watch myself on a video, I can see how many movements I actually did that I was not conscious or aware of. So this pausing and inhibiting makes me a little bit more conscious and clear, I think. In terms of the derailing, this I find quite difficult in the solo situation, because then I'm just stopping and thinking I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, and yeah, finding that I find that.
Well, what I like about, that's why I proposed it. What I like about these exercises, when I really get into it, I feel the neural pathways in my brain going like zzz, like I feel the neurological wiring of the body very stimulated, and it's quite fascinating because when you do a movement, so it's not thinking about it, because if you think, you're too late, but it's in that space before the thinking happens. So before, like you say, your body can go, but you have that little space where it's just like, if you don't go, you think, so you're like behind your body, and if your body goes, you're ahead of your body, or some, but there is that space where your body and your I think it's your nervous system, like it's something also in the spine, and you feel like just before you move, you imagine yourself moving, and it's like as if you were moving. I'm very interested in that space of time, and it's very, very teeny. It's like a millisecond maybe, but it's like if you practice, like you get so skilled in movement without moving so much, but also not thinking, because then you're late and you're heavy and you're behind.
When I suggested that for the contact, it's like what I had in mind is not only the impact that it does to you, but to your partner. Because if you break a pathway, you are aware that it's going to happen. You almost plan, I'm going to stop now, but your partner doesn't. So then they really come for it as a surprise. That's a shock for the body of in any movement. It's like they're almost going into falling in a dance. And I was thinking about that, like when you said now, it's very hard to trick yourself into falling or into breaking your own pathway, because I know it's going to happen. I choose it. It's like the same as I cannot make myself, you cannot tickle yourself. I know what will happen, but somebody else can do it for you. Or if somebody, the same when we dance in contact, and we almost never do that, if somebody who has a lot of experience grabs someone, you will see the reaction immediately waking up. Like, okay, what's going on here? So that was really interesting to do that, like with movement, because if you choose, let's say, a notion or a pattern or something to munch on, and then to how fast can you change almost without being aware that the change has happened, and is it possible? You when I did it with a partner, it's always the partner that says change. So they try to catch you when you're completely off guard, or if you're really into a subject that you like, and you're into the material and you develop it, and then it's like, okay, I'm taking the carpet out of your feet, change. And then what do you do? And it's interesting to do that quite often, like a lot. I like it when you do like change, and to see how much you can. Because if you have a lot of movement vocabulary, you can switch subject very fast, or you know that you can fall into something. But when you do it for somebody, or if you do it very fast, like change, you get over like too much information, and then you can really feel that. I feel it, the tension in the body. It's like, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
I was dancing long time ago choreography with some company, and we were dancing almost every day. This company in some theater somewhere in the city, and there was a part that we have to fall down, but we were asked to trick ourselves, so to fall down before we take the decision to fall down. So to say that I'm going to fall, but before we say now, it was really something strange. So this came to my memory and with this exercise, because this idea of how to play with your decisions is really interesting. How so I was trying to move and to change my decision in different sets of times, and it's interesting how fast can be our body and our mind into change this decision, and from where is coming the decision, because in some moment the decision was coming from the memory of the thing that I was thinking to do, but in some moment for me was coming from something more mechanic of my body by itself, and not from my thoughts. And I was experiencing this also in the contact improvisation, between when I was taking a decision, for example, making a movement from one point to another point, and during this constellation, many things were appearing in the middle of the way that were making me change my decisions, or do something completely different that I was thinking to do, and do something completely, and do something, and trigger all the time that this A B was like a A B C D D, and this B point never exists. It was just some kind of like something completely lost. Yeah, because my path went for other side, demanding my new decisions.
In a partnering dance, I think it does provide a chance to quieten down, like when you do lots of this and that, and then you miss that sinking into spaces that start to create the dance itself. Instead of you producing the dance, you keep producing the dance when you inhibit those trigger moments, oh, that movement, I must react to it like this, and all this background noise in your mind. And somehow this idea of pause and don't do the next thing, but think it or feel it, can help, I think, a lot. And in a solo dance in your room, I had this thought like, am I still dancing when I'm thinking what I would do next and I'm actually not moving? Is that still dancing, or is that just thinking about dancing?
I think this is like the representation of how dance is actually seen through life. I mean, inhibition at this moment, it is exactly the same as like in this crisis in this situation. It's exactly the same in a dance. This wanting to do something, wanting to be nice, wanting to dance nicely, to impress your partner, to impress yourself, maybe even. I think this is what happens throughout your life, at least if I look at my life. And in this situation, we have to inhibit what we want, and from that place see again, okay, and come back to yourself and listen to yourself, listen to life as a partner in a way. What does it give you? Where do you go? What do you want? And I think this is the same in every dance, in everyday situation, and in a contact dance as well.
I also want to say something about this inhibition thing that you said, when you said that you think you're derailing from the subject, but for me that was a nice way in. And like this crisis that you talked about, Iris, this is something that inhibits us from movement, or more inhibits us from contact. And right now we are very much aware of it, but it will become almost unconscious later on, which means it will be, I hope it will not, but this is like suddenly becoming the new norm of not looking at each other in the eyes, or doing something which is avoiding them on the street, or touch, which is like a bad thing. And I was thinking about in contact, when we slow down, we choose to slow down rather than you have to slow down. Or if you get injured, you will slow down immediately. You'll be very much aware of that, but after you heal from the injury, sometimes you either very much have a traumatic experience and you don't go to that pathways. And in order to change that, you really need to take those inhibitions and put them on the spotlight. What I don't do and why don't I do that? Yeah. I remember when I was I learned a lot from my injuries, and I love dancing slow, actually. But I do it from a choice rather than from, I have to do that. And I really, this inhibition, this social inhibition that is happening now, I had a talk this morning with people who works with touch, people from the Massage Academy, and realizing, now I am derailing from our subject, bring me back later or take it back, how much it will be important for us, and let's call us touchy people, to bring back the norm of touch as a good thing rather than as a bad thing. Because our job later on will be not only harder, but much more important, to get this society from 1.5 meters into much closer proximity when it's safe and when it's okay. So yeah, this inhibition of movement, inhibition of touch, something that needs to be really with awareness to why we are doing it, and how we can not go back, but go forward into what we had before. Yeah.
Totally aligned to what you're saying, Tom, because I'm taking like a little detour on the subject of the actual technical part that we were talking about, but like when this whole pandemic started and all the restrictions happened, and I felt it, because everybody, like in the air, there was this thing of like, yeah, now it's a chance to go slower, listen, go within. And I was just outraged. I just like had this enormous amount of rage because of like the passion that not me just, but the passion that we human being have, and we embodied people, we're already struggling so much to make embodiment like a rule, a norm, like, because we are the hippies or the weirdos or we're already on the margin because we work with our bodies and we believe in embodiment rather than materialism, and this modus operandi of this pandemic was like, this is not nature, this is freaking evil, like obliging people to be even more disembodying. And so that's what I was like, no, this energy needs to be channeled. And that's what I feel like we are, like, when this is over, I hope sooner than later, but I know that people will be shocked and traumatized and germaphobe, etc., but then also the hunger for embodiment. And instead of, a lot of people will tend to pull back, but it's so dangerous when people are disembodied. I mean, like in my mind, all these dystopian scenarios were going on. Is like, this is the way that people can be controlled, and they can be through disembodiment, actually. If you, because the power of the body and the power of being in your body and being, yeah, on top of it, like enjoying, like the enjoyment and the living in your body is like, it's so fundamental. It's like a basic right. It's like eating. And so I was like, oh, how can it become even more like a more embodied society? Like, how can we have this, because everybody's talking about ecology. I hear a lot about better social consciousness. Great. I mean, 100% may ends, but like this being in your own body and touching and being with other people physically, like how can we go back to it? And even more in the non-dancers, like in the daily life with everybody. Old people, I'm thinking about old people in the nursing homes that nobody can visit them. I mean, it's crazy. And they are the people that need this affirmation.
The body is now very important in our society, very, as non-touchable. We are not allowed to touch, so the body is becoming a big, important presence as container of a virus, or as a container of being contagious, or so there's this importance of the body, and at the same time we as embodied people, we see the other importance as body needs to be touched and needs to be moved by others. And so there's this huge contradiction, or this huge clash for me. Now we have this enforced silence, you know, like in contact dance, I choose sometimes silence, just to, or standing still with another, just to find out what comes up. And now it's this enforced silence, and even not in contact, but outside, nothing comes up in me. It's like, for me, it's, So maybe you have suggestions, what can come up in a dancing way. I mean, this enforced silence of enforced pause, and it doesn't address my creativity or my bodily creativity. Does someone want to have contact improvisation with me at 1.5 meters apart? Because that's possible. I mean, without contact, do the CI. Please.
My first reaction was go for it. I mean, once this happened, I think this necessity, which I actually like, creates a wave of creativity. I was also in my work, which I really love, doing the stuff that I know. And every class was okay. Luckily, my classes are a yearly class, so I cannot give the same class every time. I really like it the same day. Sit. What is going to happen today? And because of this, I cannot. I can totally understand what you're saying, but I really couldn't find a way to give the contact classes online. Not to the level that I want, although I know that people will come because we just love to be with each other. So I actually came back to my former love, which is dance improvisation. And then it's also really interesting because the first two classes were feeling like I'm giving a class within a wetsuit with 250 kilos on my legs.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let's see how it happens. And at the end, it's like every time you learn something new, you learn about space, which is a very different space. You learn about attention-wise, which is a very different attention-wise. So for me, this is a research that I would continue to do. And I was thinking about, there was a demonstration, you said about let's do contact in 1.5 meter. There was a demonstration in Israel.
In Tel Aviv, I saw it.
Yeah, and
Beautiful.
everybody kept 1.5 meter afstand in silence. It was like, it's just a beautiful image even with attention and intention there. The only thing is like, I'm thinking we can do that maybe in an open space, but we cannot take a studio do that because that's not responsible for the studio owners. And the other thing that is happening now, I think Iris, you said that as well, with this small dance that is happening for all of the CI people around the world, at 12, not exactly sure, I need to read it again. It's just a way for connection, a way for creating this online connection with same embodied people that we usually communicate simply by touch. It's like, I know you, but I think I do not talk to you so much as much I talk to you now. In a sense, because we just meet in the studio and then we do this. Okay, let's play. So it's a very different way of communication, which I actually have to say I prefer that non-verbal communication. I find myself much more attuned and accomplished there in the sense that I can understand it better. Although I think I'm articulating myself okay, I still, in a visceral way, find it much more interesting and much more to my personal attitude. But we cannot do that now. So we need to find different ways through this inhibition to bring forward what we do love and believe in. So yeah. Like Raul, you did that. You did this first talk and now this talk. And chapeau, like this is not something that I would do because I don't have the drive and force to do that. I have drive and forces to do other stuff. But once you did that, we all jumped into the wagon because it is important. It helps. It's something that we need now. At least I know for myself. So when Baba, you add this idea, it's like really like, yes, please do it. Even if we are just 4 of us and then we do it. And I think now Raul or Manuela, we are recording it. So this is also important because like in Contact Quarterly, this is a very historical time. So even Contact has never encountered a way where everybody in the world cannot even practice at all, unless it's your partner. So this will be also something very interesting to actually document or take it with us, the same as we take pictures of Amsterdam or Amsterdam Dam or all of the cities which are completely empty. Never happened in the last 70 years.
Yeah. It's like when we are in content improvisation and we change partner, we cannot dance in the same form that we were dancing with the last partner. We have to set new tools and set a new body and set a new encounter, no? And I feel now like we change partner right now in this situation, and we have to find a new tools, and we cannot answer this situation with the same tools that we were fronting the situation before. So this is for me it's a challenge, how to dance with the other, yeah, how to, like you say, Barbara, how to how to perform, like you were performing, Manuela and Natalia last time, and how find new ways to connect and to, exactly like Tom say, it's like it's amazing. We cannot make a contact right now. It's like we are blocked. It's like a board game, and we are blocked now. What to do now? What are our tools, and how we respond that?
Since we cannot practice contact now, I mean, I haven't had so much chance to talk with all of you about specifically contact, so we're finding these new places. But what I think is quite important to remember is that it's always based on the experience. Like what the case in South Africa at the moment is we're on like a very, very strict lockdown, so we do things well, I mean, I suppose it's the case there as well. Like we will have a glass of wine together as we would in a restaurant, you know, but it's based on the fact that we've had that experience. Or we done a Zoom performance with our friends, but it's based on the fact that we've done performances. Or we have a conversation about contact, but it's based on the fact that we've danced with each other. So I think what can become potentially interesting is that these channels for discussing things in other ways, or having other opportunities to engage about a specific topic, open up new pockets of understanding for when we get back to doing the actual thing, you know. And I know that hopefully soon, when I am in a dance with any one of you, that this memory of this experience is definitely part of the history that I'm going to bring to the dance, you know. I think it's quite interesting. Quite historic, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about this idea of each person that we were dancing, or we are dancing, something that I'm seeing is like I am different person with different people. Yeah, I am different person with Talia. I'm different person with Tom. I'm different person in relation with my mother, and we have now this option to be different in many ways is restricted. Yeah, for example,
this is also a time to see how can I do it differently, or to stop somewhere and then choose another pathway, or to finish it differently, and not keep on doing the same thing.
Yeah, how can we invite surprise? Or
exactly.
Yeah. How can we invite, because I'm living alone and I'm only with my own body. How can I invite surprise now for moving different? Yeah, interesting.
Coming to Barbara's proposition, that something that my mind, why is the world of contemporary dance and improvisation so divided from the world of contact? And I was like, maybe this can change after this. Maybe this can bring an opportunity of, and then of course, because I mean, the way in many communities is more like in Berlin, for example, is less present. Like there's a lot of people that actually are in both worlds. In Amsterdam stays pretty divided. There are some people that do both, but it's very few. I mean, actually within this group, there's like the few people that actually jump. They also perform, that also teach improvisation, not necessarily with contact. And I mean, Talia does both, Tom does both. I assume Raul, you also do. I hardly ever do contact, but I had experience, and I do draw. I mean, a lot of my floor work class is like stolen contact stuff. It's like basically your partner is the floor. So I'm wondering, like now, I mean, because we can still dance. Of course, it's not as exciting as before, but we can move, we can dance, we can. If you're alone at home, it's very challenging, of course, because you have to motivate yourself. but I'm also like thinking afterwards is why are this world in the dance world, which is already so divided, divided, and what are the things that are making them so divided? Why shouldn't be? Yeah, how to bring the forms in the future that is like when
Interesting. So, and not blur the form, but because otherwise then you have a kind of, if you blur all the colors together, you get black or brown. So, but not blur, but use all the forms and let them, how do you say, contaminate each other. Speaking of a virus.
Yeah, because if I look at myself, I both dance contemporary as well as CI, but always at some point focusing on CI and then on contemporary and then on CI and then on contemporary. And in that way, actually, it is nicest because at some point I get a bit bored in the contact improvisation because I'm a bit bored with my own patterns of movement, of going into contact with another person. It gets like the same riddle. And then when I then focus on contemporary for a bit, it gives me something broader and something new. And I think that would be super nice if that could mingle more for like, in the Amsterdam scene, then I would say.
And I'm sorry to take over this, but Raoul, last time I was at your workshop, or we danced in your workshop, we used the space a lot, which is kind of contemporary approach for CI, contemporary dance approach for contact improvisation. So we addressed the space as a partner or as a context for dancing instead of only dancing together. So yeah, I was just remembering that.
Yeah. Nothing. I was also thinking that when I was going outside, because we have new, I call it, like last time I was also talking about these choreographic objects, not only physical, but also conceptual, this idea of the distance, this idea of escaping, not only this distance that we have for rule, but also this distance about the fear, that we are afraid of everybody, or we are afraid to touch some objects or some structures. We are afraid to, in general, afraid to touch and to sit somewhere. So there are new choreographic objects. I mean, these objects that are conditioning your way of movement and your way of relate. So it's for me it's interesting. I was thinking this new way of related space that is, I see this situation, of course, in a positive, talking in a positive way. I just see as a situation, not a bad or good, just as new situation and new setup of the world. And it's interesting how it's kind of like I was feeling in a family constellation in the supermarket, not how everybody is moving and taking a new position depending where is the other one. So I was thinking like, okay, you will be my mother, you will be my father, and you will be my sister, and let's see how it's moving everything. And so it's the space became really important. This is true, yeah.
This makes me think, Raoul, like I wrote this down in my notebook earlier. Like how do you earlier Tom was speaking about like how do you trick your partner safe? How do you trick your partner safely? Or how do you detour your movement but without hurting yourself? Obviously, like I thought sometimes when I dance, like I want to do something that I can't actually physically do. But I wonder, like in this situation at the family constellation in the supermarket, like how do you derail that safely, like in these conditions, you know? For example, people will fall into a pattern of how to socially distance and be around each other, but us as embodied compositional movement people, how do we like mess with that system, but not in a harmful way, you know, in a dangerous way? It takes like a little higher level of the mind to go, yeah, I can make the change here, but that's not dangerous or harmful, you know, in the same way that we can do, once you know the body and its pathways in a contact dance, you can disturb a pattern and bring about a bit of awareness actually, and spice, but without causing somebody injury or fright. I wonder if it's a thing to try, you know, in society, and with the way that movement and space is changing now and being played out. Could be an interesting experiment.
Yeah, I think it's okay. It's when you say that, what comes to my mind now is really how much does personal space changes now. Because if you walk in a street, your kinesphere, your personal space is okay. If somebody enters there, I am aware of that because they might bump into me, a physical bump, which usually turns on the hey, I'm walking here, or hey, this is me. But right now, it's as if your physical body is much bigger because you're afraid of getting hurt if somebody's getting close to you. And I was doing this workshop about space and consent, like where is my personal space? To really become aware of it, like to tell the person who comes next to you, stop, this is my personal space, this is my intimate space. And I really think that after this will come down, we will have a lot of residues which amorphically changes your personal space, where it is still okay, where it is not okay. And like you said, like, this is the family constellation in the supermarket, it's everywhere now. And it was be, to me, really interesting to bring that forward, either in a dance or in a workshop or in like, how do you not again go back, but see that as okay, this has changed, not because you wanted it to change, because you were forced from society. You were talked about like a papachai, like we are keep on talking about this 1.5 meter afstand. If we keep on saying that, it will stay. It will really be like, yeah, this is my personal space now, 1.5 meter afstand. And that's like that's a post-traumatic syndrome. It's basically very close to a post-traumatic syndrome.
Yeah.
And I get this now, that this is something that we really need to address it artistically, address it in words or writing in it, because when you talk about this, I get really inspiration to start like writing in Facebook or create an article or whatever. How important it is to not stay in that place.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, I wanted to have this more silence after. But thank you, Tom, because while you were talking, I noticed with this 1.5 meter distance, it seems to have more personal space, but I feel my body shrinking. So, yeah. And I also feel like being less playful in the public space. Sometimes you jump on a wall or you jump on a fence. I don't know what you do. Sometimes you have this, you know, when you walk, you just skip, etc. Even me. And now this playfulness, I don't see it also with others. So I feel my body shrinking and also my movement shrinking in public space. Like only efficient or just going to groceries, etc. So yeah.
What you were talking, Tom, for me was I was just remembering going out of the Contact Festival after 1 week. That also only with 1 week we have already set our bodies in a different way, or at least myself. So it's like a same exercise, but the opposite. No, going to the supermarket after being so close with everybody, going to the supermarket and try to put out this setup that I have for 1 week was really difficult, and my body was feeling strange. So I agree with you that after this period, our body we will have already some kind of different disposition in the space in relation with others. Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, when you say that, it actually gives me hope, because I know that for me, after I usually like to go to festivals, but I cannot do one festival after the other. Like after a festival of a week of touching, and I love this contact, like, don't touch me. I need my personal space now, don't touch me. So it really makes me hopeful that after this very strong push of the pendulum to one side, everybody will just have to do this. Everybody, exactly. Yes. You will have to touch because it's a human need. So there's one part of me which is fearful that this inhibition, that this new norm will stay, and the other that says this is not human nature. We will have to go take back the pendulum a bit stronger that way, and it will happen by itself to go back into normality. Yeah.
It makes me think of something else we could talk about maybe next time. But like, I'm taking your words, Tom, and yours also, Raul. Resetting the body, how to address the post-traumatic syndrome of social distancing.
Nice.
Like, this has will become our work now, you know.
Wow.
what are our actions to reset the body after this trauma?
For sure, there are things that we don't want to change. And for sure, there are things that we want to come back to disappear and forget about and say to our body that not in that way. But for sure, there will be things that we want to keep it.
2 lines or 2 sentences. Resetting the body, how to deal with this post-traumatic stress syndrome that we will have that. That is very clear. This is not a small fall from the bike. What is happening now? It is for many people a very very strong incident or long period incident.
And it is the case often with it is a traumatic experience across the globe, you know, that we need to handle the recovery with a lot of care and responsibility and safety in a way, you know, like an injury, exactly like an injury, yeah, like a sore, like a hurt ankle or a hurt body part, indeed. It will require a patience, an awareness, a gentleness.
Many ideas that what is happening right now that we don't have a really certain what's happening right now. I think this improvisation will guide us day by day how to solve that, and for me it's really interesting to start to talk about that and to somehow imagine this way back. Yeah. That is completely uncertain. It's improvisation, completely improvisation. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. There is not rules or I don't know.
It's an open score.
Yeah, very open score. In very unfamiliar conditions.
Very out of our comfort zones is, yeah. And for me, it also relates to what can we do as a way to deal with this as an answer to this post-traumatic stress. But the stress is already happening. The wound is happening. The wound is the injuries being made now. What can we do as embodied people with the wound being made now?
Yeah, what can we do now? And then what can we do in the aftermath? I think those are very big areas of conversation. and to hear each other's opinions or thoughts on that is already quite healing, actually.
Yeah, I think that this conversation, if we're talking about derailment or improvisation or going into something else, it's also really important to see. Actually, that would be interesting because the difference between CI and dance improvisation is that that CI now is also not revolves, but has this word like a community, which I never heard that from a dance improvisation. The dance improvisation scene at OER, we are really like an island. We know each other, we work with each other, but there's some jams, or let's call it like scores and where we meet, but it's not the same as contact in that sense. There is much more this visceral feeling that contact people almost need. So that's like the overlapping thing. There's the professional dancers in CI, and there's also people who come from like normal life into CI and learn the technique. So what you're saying about this, I would call it a bleeding, what we are experiencing now, Barbara. So this is not only an injury, but we are now bleeding. How to stop this gash or a wound. And I was really touched by what you said, that you are living alone as an embodied person, especially as you saw now somebody is walking behind me. I live in a Wohngroep. So and not only the touch and the connection that I have with my partner, like Manuela and Talia, I do live in a small community where we are represented as a family regarding we can be close to each other, we can even touch each other. And I know now of people as well that they decided, most of them like touchy people like us, you're going to be my touch partner. You're simply going to be my touch partner. We will not touch anybody else. This is not sexual. This is just that we can hug each other or just be in a physical relationship, which is just about like two puppies, like the same as what contact was very much like a mom and a kid, or two puppies playing around. And I would be super interested if, I think, Raul, it's nice that you pick up this, because also you started it, you pick up this, that if the second, this talk was, the subject was initiated by Manuela, was inspired by Manuela, to have the next talk about this subject, resetting the body. How do we deal with not only this situation, but a few months from now, what are the ideas, action, and just also the feelings of where we are now. I think this will also be a very good pool for many, many people to join in for that. So I would love it if that will happen. So, yeah.
And what we do now, we talk now, for me, it comes the closest to, I don't know, touch or connecting. Yeah, so well, this is big for me here.
Wow.
So,
Thank you so much, everyone. This was a very very nurturing discussion.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raul.
thank you, Raul, for.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Manuela. Thank you, Talia. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you too.
Everybody.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
We communicate. See you later.
See you later.